So now we're 100 episodes later, with a Facebook page that I can't even begin to think about. Like, where do you people come from? Like, I'm not telling you to leave.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But
40,000 people, man. Over 40,000 people at this point.
Wild. Yeah, and still climbing.
Yeah.
I just like, and some people are going, I think you're doing better than Doctor Who.
That's funny.
I don't want this flag show to leave. What have I got a podcast for?
Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, a show that celebrates all things nerdy. You'll get an insider's look into the world of comic books, graphic novels, TV and film, gaming and pop culture, as well as the technologies that drive all of it. Now, are you ready to get nerdy?
Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, the show about all things nerdy. We discuss nerd news, movies, TV shows, games, comics, and interview the amazing creators who bring it all to life. I'm Jeremy. No, I'm not.
I'm Brian. 3,
Welcome
2,
to
1, go.
Oh, gosh. All right. Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, the show about all things nerdy. We discuss nerd news, movies, TV shows, games, comics, and interview the amazing creators who bring it all to life. I'm Brian.
I'm Jeremy.
And brace yourselves, because we're about to get nerdy. All right.
Top concert. What the heck?
This week's guest.
Jeremy was like this for 5 seconds.
Yeah, this week's guest, ladies and gentlemen, is a philosopher of the ancient and future Whovian texts. Many years ago, he decided to venture into the great unknown with a dream and a Tardis. Since then, our guest has interviewed some of the most interesting and well-known people from the Doctor Who universe and beyond. He is the host of the podcast YouTube sensation, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, which has now reached over 40,000 followers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Whovians of all ages, we give you hashtag 50 Shades of Christian himself, the Christian Basel. We clap for you. You clap for yourself. Good.
I did. I didn't know what to do here. I didn't want to be alone. I'm just looking at the Freddy Krueger mask behind Jeremy and going,
oh, yes. It stares into your soul and in your dreams.
Right now, his eyes are closed, so he's sleeping.
Christian, how you doing, man? How's 2020 treating you?
Oh, jeez.
That good, huh?
It's the best. This is the best year ever.
Yeah,
exactly. Remember when we were all getting together and it was midnight 2019 on December the 31st, and 2020 would be our year, and I'm going to make the change, and this is going to be the year. You stay home and don't go anywhere when you do it. Watch out for the murder hornets. By the way, how about that election? I mean, my God, what the?
Yeah. Oh, gosh, dude.
Oh, my goodness.
This year has
just one catastrophe after another.
Right. Just
It's
awful.
I can't even go on Twitter anymore. And I said, as a friend of mine said, if you go on Twitter, you want to start the biggest argument, here's what you type. I wish peace for everybody and love across for everybody on the planet. Just type that in and you'll see the rip. I'm like, how did that become a controversial thing on a social media platform? So I'm like, I don't even go there anymore.
Dude, people are so whacked out on social media. It's like we've just forgotten how to communicate with each other, really. It's sad. It's kind of scary.
Do you remember that one cartoon with Daffy Duck? It was a really cool cartoon. It was just him, like, he was having all this trouble with the guy who was drawing stuff into his cartoon. He goes, I need a close-up, you jerk, a close-up! And you see at the very end, it's Bugs Bunny doing all the drawing on the piece of paper. That's what I think 2020 is. At the very end, at midnight on the 31st, we're going to find out Bugs Bunny has been drawing everything in.
I can see that.
On Daffy Duck's
absolutely
plate.
That's hilarious.
Right.
Oh, man. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, honestly. It's the shenaniganery of 2020 has maxed out.
You made that word up, didn't you?
Well, I don't know if I made it up. Me and my circle of friends say it. I think our buddy
Shenaniganer.
Justin may have actually made it up, and I like it though. I adopted it.
No, I'm stealing it.
And
Just
I
a
like
meme off your
writing it
Facebook
in
page.
when Brian K. Morris on his morning show. I like writing it in the comments because he can't say it because it's not a
Yeah.
real word, right? So he says shenaniganery, which always makes me giggle because I say it's shenaniganery. The wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, you see. So, Christian, before we jump into getting to know you a little bit more.
Ooh.
Yes, I've lowered the
After
register of my
dark.
voice so everyone knows it's serious and intimate. We ask a couple questions of everybody,
That scared me
and
just a
the
little.
first one, because do what?
That scared me just a little.
As it should, my friend. Welcome, Christian. How are you? Yes, we're glad you're here. So this segment is called "Get to Know Your Dingoes" because now you are an honorary dingo, my friend.
What's he laughing about?
He's laughing because it is ridiculous and amazing, and he's so honored he's speechless. That's what's happening. You are an honorary dingo, my good sir.
And Dingo is just fine then. Thank you. I got to know it well.
First question.
Yeah.
What kind of nerd are you?
I'm an Asian nerd, but I am a geek first and foremost. If you're referring to my street geek cred, what
Yes,
else?
Yeah,
indeed. Like what is your specialty nerddom, which I think we can guess, but what would you yourself say it is?
I have no freaking clue whatsoever. I really don't know. This British TV show started back in the 60s, Doctor Who, but I dabble. It's not that I don't have much of it. I can't. There's people out there who are like philosophy experts, like know every episode, know every inch of dialogue, know everything that's taken place in every realm. I would say I would probably, if I was to rate myself on a geek meter, I would probably put myself between 8 and 9 on Doctor Who as far as the MDs, because there's people who know the Big Finish, the audios, they know the comic books. I'm like, I haven't read all this, I haven't heard all this, and probably Star Wars would probably be a 6 or 7, Star Trek 6 or 7, Red Dwarf 8 to 9. I love it. Oh, okay. I'm not the only one. I'm glad I'm a dwarfer in here. I'm glad.
What is that?
Red Dwarf?
Yeah.
It is. You got to check it out for yourself when you get a chance. It is a British sci-fi comedy.
Okay.
And essentially the dynamics about this, and Brian, correct me if I'm going to get this weirded out. I also saw The Promised Land. You got to see that episode. If they finish the whole series with Promised Land, I'll forgive them. But essentially, the best way I can explain this to somebody is Douglas Adams wrote a TV series. It would have been something similar to Red Dwarf.
Okay.
It is ridiculous.
It is
All right.
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It's supposed to be a guy on a spaceship called the Red Dwarf of Jupiter Mining Corporation. He's like the lowest of the tech. He's like the lowest. He assists the man who repairs the chicken soup machines on the ship.
Okay.
I mean, that's how brain weird it is. And he apparently smuggled a pregnant cat on board the ship and is caught. So he goes into stasis as punishment, and he wakes up 3 million years later because everybody on the crew ended up dead by some radioactive thing that happened on the ship. So nobody woke him up. And all of a sudden the computer let him out because the radiation had subsided after 3 million years. And the computer has gone completely senile. So I meant the computer, you never know what the computer is going to do because you think he's smart and everything. No, he's been on for 3 million years and he's been traveling the universe alone. His pregnant cat has started a civilization inside the ship somewhere. I mean, it's just
Awesome.
out. Yeah.
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 It's like Idiocracy.
Yes.
Like that movie.
It's like that. It's also like it's very similar. Like the humor is kind of Monty Python-esque as far as
I got to hand it over
the
to
silliness.
Grant and Naylor have a humor of their own that I think it rivals Douglas Adams. Some of this, so the episodes were by the way, we're a Doctor Who show. I'm talking about Red Dwarf, which is my second favorite show. And the series is completely bizarre. The computer decides so that Lister, who's the head of the show, who's the antagonist of the show, who is supposedly the last human in existence, is a scuzzy bum. That's how we're gonna end. We're gonna end with a scuzzy bum. So he wakes up when the computer decides to give him a hologram, but he can only pull back one of the crewmates. He decides to give him his superior officer, which he decides because of the amount of words that they exchange with each other. And basically, yeah, most of it was telling him to F off. That's why he was brought back, and not his girlfriend, or at least his potential girlfriend on the ship. So, that's Red Dwarf in the nutshell for people who haven't seen it. But Brian, what do you think? What you know that show, right? You gave it a giggle.
I gave it a giggle. You know a lot more about it than I do. I've seen a few clips, episodes, GIFs that have to do with it. And it's just I know enough about it just to know that it's funny and entertaining.
Awesome.
It kind of grabbed my attention. I just like weird, obscure British comedy stuff.
That's fun.
And so, yeah, but no, I enjoy it. Jeremy, I think you would like it.
Okay.
I think you would, but because you like British humor and you like British stuff, it is different, but I don't know. I like my mind, of course, anything, because my first like introduction to British comedy was Monty Python, and then Hugh and Laurie were my first two. So like I always kind of bring everything back to them because that was just the first thing but if you like either one of those, you'll like Red Dwarf because it's silly and goofy. And
did you say a bit of Hugh and Laurie, or you mean Laurie and Fry?
Fry, yeah, sorry. Sorry.
I was just gonna let it go.
Yeah, Fry and Laurie. But
I'm at your house, and I have an American accent.
Oh gosh,
figure out. Did that freak you out when you first?
Well, no, because I didn't. I was introduced to Monty Python as like a teenager, and then House was already on. So I didn't. I actually hadn't heard him. I hadn't heard his actual accent.
Right.
I just saw House. That was the first introduction to Hugh Laurie.
That's what he was asking. Is then when you
was that
when you found out? Because I knew Hugh Laurie from Blackadder. I knew him way back when, and I mean, like when I saw him do an American accent, and everybody was fooled that he spoke an American accent. And then all of a sudden, he would do the interviews, and he would go into his British accent. That screwed with everybody. I remember the times when he was walking around, "Hurrah, Blackadder!" I mean, things like that. And I was just like, no, I knew Hugh Laurie, and it was like I saw Flight of the Phoenix. I saw. I always I simply called it. I hope it's kind of like Jump the Shark. I call it the Hugh Laurie effect. It's always you see this one actor or this one actress in all these movies you don't know about, but you've seen them, and then all of a sudden they find this one role, and then they come to their fruition, and they finally get the appreciation they needed. By the way, their IMDb stretches forever. Off the page, but you just found out like 100 shows later that this person has been on everything. And some people are like that. Was Peter Capaldi has an IMDb that goes off there. Before he took Doctor Who, he had the thick of it and all that. That was his claim to fame. But I just
I actually think he has a better American accent in Veep than he does in House.
I haven't seen Veep.
It's absolutely hilarious. You know what it's about?
I know it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I think it was a spoof on Sarah Palin, I think, kind of.
Kind of ish. She's the vice president, and she's awful. And her whole team is just like that. I don't know. It's like a slapstick sort of relationship where everything fails that they try to do. You know what I mean? Like
so it's kind of like Spin City.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox kind of in that realm.
Yeah, they just kind of like fail forward through the entire series. And it's just a great like ensemble of people under her and things like that. And Hugh Laurie is somebody that she meets like later on in the season. But he was on for probably 2 seasons or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And it's incredibly hard to tell, even knowing that he has a British accent.
He's very versatile. He can go in and out of things.
Yeah.
He is a chameleon. I mean, he could really do it. I mean, who is God? I can't. Gary Oldman.
I was about to say that.
He's a Gary Oldman.
Yeah. And
Gary Oldman's chameleon. You just have like take 5 movies, different frames from 5 different movies that Gary Oldman's been, and he's not the same person, but he is the same person. So I'm just like,
and it's amazing to me. Like if you watch Batman Begins, his American accent is okay
Right.
in Batman Begins, but then The Dark Knight, it's like flawless. Like you can tell he really worked on it in between the films. But no, yeah, Gary Oldman is another one of those actors that literally like just the definition of diversity in and range as an actor for sure.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, Christian, the next question.
You brought the Doctor Who expert on, and that's the last thing we've been talking about.
It's all right.
So
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
It's cool. So, like I said, one of the questions we ask everybody is, what are your top 5 movies?
Oh God, geez.
I know it's so hard. Everybody struggles with this question, and
I actually have a number 1, and it has yet to be knocked off of its perch.
Okay,
Patton is my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, that's a first, but that's a really good one. That's a first for our guests.
Yeah,
that was even on the list, but that's a great movie.
You cannot. And everybody that I've heard is just like, well, it's supposed to glorify war. No, it was supposed to demonstrate a man who glorified war. It's supposed to show the actions of what George C. Scott, Carl Malden. You got all the cinematography. You see you see the violence. You even see the comedy. There's one scene where it was supposed to be a bad storm. They were supposed to do an invasion, and he summons the priest, and then the priest comes out and he goes, "I want you to say a prayer for it to get rid of this storm." And the priest going, "That's going to be a hell of a, just going to be a hell of a prayer that you want me to say." And surely enough, he does the prayer. Patton reads it, and at the end of the prayer, the next morning, the storm's gone, and Patton turns to the next guy and goes, "I want that priest decorated." Just that kind of humor and writing. And it's like, it wasn't really a glorified war. In fact, if anything, it really showed the downside of things.
Yeah.
But it showed a man who was, in his struggles because he was a perfectionist. Now, the other thing is I found out later on in life about maybe 75% of it is not true at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you really look at it and break the schematics down, a lot of the issues and the relationships with Patton are not true. They were just expounded for good storytelling, but nonetheless, still an awesome movie in its own right.
Yeah.
Gee, freaking Scott, crying out loud.
Oh goodness. Yeah. Watch that movie and then go watch Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah. But 2, 3, 4, and 5 kind of switch out of, I gotta say right now they're sitting in there. Deadpool's 1 and 2 kind of roam around in there just because I loved it. It was the kind of Marvel film that I wanted to see, and it was it's a character that I can relate to, the underdog. My favorite Disney film of all time at this very moment has yet to be knocked off its perch. Lilo and Stitch.
Oh wow!
Before that, it was The Emperor's New Groove.
Nice.
I just loved it because there was nothing Disney about it. There was no theme songs.
Yeah.
Well, except for Sting, if you can count his song at the end. The antagonist you hated.
Yeah.
Not like a Disney princess is just like, we care about the Disney prince. No, the guy was a total jerk. And it was a buddy film. So here's something that Disney kind of said, you know what, we're going to throw out all the rules, make this movie. And that's something that I appreciate when Disney does, and they do it right. And that was my favorite film for a while. After that, then it was Lilo and Stitch because I could relate to the character. It was a character who, God, how many people I saw it with Disney cast members. If you want to see a Disney film and just get emotional, do it when Disney cast members are in the theater watching there. But the first time I saw it, all of there were cast members in there. And the scene where he is going, I'm lost. There was not a dry eye in the damn theater.
Oh man.
Oh, and I guess
because you worked at Disney, right? For a while.
I did it. Yeah, I did it for like off and on for about 8 years. I worked. I was there for about 5 years. Then I went. Then I said I want to do something different. So I did the Swan and Dolphin, which are not Disney resorts, but they're on Disney property. I was a concierge there, and I said, I want to go back to Disney. So I did that for 3 years, and then, I just bailed.
Yeah,
I need a job that pays the bills.
Did you enjoy the work that you were doing there?
I mean, yeah, you walk in and there's a castle. Or
Yeah,
spaceship
right.
Earth is staring right in front of you. This is your job. This is when you're walking in. And I don't care what kind of bad day you have. You're walking past spaceship Earth. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was exciting. And I think when I was said and done, I worked like 30 attractions and 30 merchandise shops.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
But it didn't pay the bills too well. Right. I just wasn't moving up or whatnot. And I said, I got to find my own way out. And I was like, I said goodbye after so on. But there are so many great memories.
Yeah.
I take with me.
For sure. Now, so like when you, I've heard, and I don't know if this is true. Do they essentially like treat everyone there, all the workers, as performers? Is that essentially?
Yeah, that's essentially it. They're considered cast members. The role you're on stage.
Yeah.
You are constantly performing for the guests, even though your role is could be cleaning up trash or or pushing a button to make things go. It's supposed to be the impression that you're on stage, you're performing, and that you play a certain role, and you want to make sure that everybody who goes through is feeling good about themselves, enjoying an experience that they wouldn't get anywhere else. So that's how they packaged it to us as cast members.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got Trank. So we've got Deadpool 1 and 2, Lilo and Stitch, and Patton. What's the fifth one?
Well, I actually don't put it. It's my favorite Disney film. I don't know if it's my favorite film.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
But I'll throw it in there. Now this is where it becomes mixed nuts. Now I got to go. I didn't know the question. I could go my DVD now.
You've got like a 70-way tie for.
It is because it depends on my mood. It could be Christmas Vacation. It could be basketball. It could be. I mean, it just. That 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and all the way down to 50th is a tough one to throw in there. I would think, if anything, possibly, and this is, I guess I'm fulfilling a question so I can answer it as opposed to giving you something almost legit, but I would throw Men in Black in there.
Oh,
okay. All right. Yeah.
That's a great movie. That is a fantastic movie.
The original, the first.
Yeah, the first. Now, okay, so like
just
the
pretend
first
the
one,
others didn't happen.
So you're not a fan of 3? Because I know 2 was kind of a bust, but 3, I felt 3 was a good rebound.
Yeah, I do think it was a good rebound. I think because it's God, am I going to go into this?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, man.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
It's because The Last Jedi was written. We had to write The Rise of Skywalker. It's because
that is a great analogy.
2 was written, 3 had to go this route. And it was a nice attempt. It was not an attempt. It was a nice execution. It did, but it wasn't 1.
No.
And it tried to be 1. And 1 was one was a lightning in a bottle caught. Mm-hmm. Straight up. And to me, that worked. I mean, I saw it over and over and over again.
Yep. Yeah, that's one that you get sucked in. If it's on like a TV somewhere, you're just like...
Immediately.
Yeah.
But again, it's the buddy one. I meant, then I would say Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. I pretend 3 doesn't exist. And then,
they're making a 4th one. Did you know that?
God, well, no. For what?
Because nostalgia. That's why.
No, Eddie Murphy needs a new swimming pool, and his is dying.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh man! All right. Well, if you thought that question was hard, get ready for the next one.
Oh my! Is that what you said?
So, what are your top 5 favorite episodes of Doctor Who?
Oh, and those kind of because the series is still going on. It's not like, God rest its soul, Supernatural. It's over now.
Oh man,
I got to throw that little ditty in there, and it's not like the series has ended. It still goes on, and as soon as a new episode comes in, it might change it. It might come out, because I love the fan. What is it called? Fan work, fan bait, whatever. Where they're appeasing the fans.
Oh, okay.
That's nostalgia.
Yeah.
Fan nostalgia. The Day of the Doctor kind of sits there at number 1. Then it gets weirdly odd. The Talons of Wang Chiang, because it would not be made today, but I loved it. It was Robert Holmes at his best. It was a wonderful story. I don't know if I have a top 5. God, you're talking about 800 episodes and trying to line them up.
Isn't it great?
It literally is. Who's your favorite? Yeah, when I get to the who's your favorite doctor, that list alters all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So we're talking about since the very beginning, and not from 2005.
Yeah. Oh, you're going 2005. I was thinking you're going to 1963 when that all started.
But we could just do the new series if you wanted that. New series.
Well, I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of Tom Baker in there. God, I really need. Wait. I got. I don't know where number I would put it, but the Christmas Carol. I love that thing. I thought it was such a wonderful execution, and it's still today one of my favorite Christmas episodes is the Christmas Carol, and they really took a chance on that. Eccleston, I got to give Dalek is in there. Is in the top 5.
Yes, that is a great episode.
It was written by one of my favorite writers, Rob Sherman, who also wrote 2 of the Big Finish, The Holy Terror, and oh God, he's going to kill me. I can't even. Scherzo, and which are my favorite Big Finish audios. But Dalek, I mean that one was where it said, "It's not just a fluff show anymore, kids."
Now that's the episode where the Dalek dies at the end, right?
Yes.
Like in the light where Rose changes him and he eats it and all that stuff.
Yeah, it commits suicide because it can't be. It has to be pure Dalek. It cannot be anything else. And Rose merging with it, started to create this new Dalek. Wow. I mean, so many, but those are the ones that pop in my head the most.
Okay. Well, I think for me, I'm holding off because as you know, I'm on a Doctor Who journey right now. So I'm in the middle of season 3 currently. And I've seen episodes here and there before. So
I'm just being technical. When you say series 3, is that the reboot or is that the classic?
Yeah, okay, I haven't watched any of the classics yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna do that after I watch the new one. But I've seen the Van Gogh episode. I've seen.
Okay. Yes. That's in my top 5.
Okay. I feel like that's in most people's top 5.
It is.
Every time I'll just watch the last clip. It'll show up on Facebook randomly sometimes, and I'll just be like,
It was the episode that one of the things at the panels that I do is what I call the Whovian starter kit. We will.
That's awesome.
Heard about the show called Doctor Who, but we would have discussions about friends that you brought in to watch Doctor Who and how you got them in, what made you a Whovian, and usually there's actually people there that have never seen Doctor Who or don't know it or tried to start it, and we call it the Whovian starter kit, and we would actually have an interactive panel where the other audience members will come in and say their favorite episodes and stuff, and we will actually create a list for the person, a top 5 list for them to start watching based upon what they tell us that they like. And everybody throws in Vincent and the Doctor, and shame on me for not remembering that, but Day of the Doctor, Inferno, which is classic. It's actually, for a better term, mirror universe Star Trek.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of the Doctor ends up in an alternate universe where all of his friends are bad, working as a bad organization. But the whole idea is they're drilling inside the Earth, and he realizes what's going to happen He tries to stop it in the alternate universe, but it's too late. Then he gets zapped back into our universe. And at the end of the show, you got to figure out, hopefully, that he stops the drilling. It just started before it destroys us.
Yeah. So now where is that episode?
It's third Doctor.
Third. Okay. So that's the classic episode.
Perfect.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. That's a really cool premise, though.
It is a cool premise. I thought that was a really cool episode. And a lot of the intricacies of the Doctor Who, where it's really a good story, really great acting, really great writing, and just mind blown. Just, what if?
Yeah.
And also injected with the humor and so forth. So it's kind of that way. It's the same thing with like Star Trek 4.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, so now that we've gotten your top 5 questions out of the way, you're an honorary dingo. Yep. We've covered all of this. You're knighted, as it were. Change your LinkedIn. So now tell us your story, man. Oh, go ahead. What?
No, I just said nope.
Oh. So tell us your story. In all the things that you've done in your life, take us back to wee child Christian, and what brought you to doing a podcast about Doctor Who?
Good God, man, do you want to bore the audience with my history?
Tell us your story.
When I was just a little Filipino boy, I ate a lot of food because my mom was a Filipino.
And it was
all
good
I have
food.
to say is lumpia, and you guys will die,
dude. Like my cousins are Filipino, and like some of their side of the Filipino side of the family came over to make food we had a funeral, and they came over and made food, and my gosh, some of the best food I've ever had in my life. Like, I am not a small guy. I would be even larger if I had access to someone who could cook that well, that kind of food. Yeah. Like if I was raised by a Filipino mom like my cousin was, bro.
Totally bigger on the inside, thanks to my mother. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Well, to not bore you too much about that, how did this get started? I think that's your question, right?
Exactly. Yes.
I guess we can go back. Everybody was going like, "You were just a major success and everything." I said, "I've been doing this for 8 years. You know that." I just wake up, and then all of a sudden, everybody started showing up and going like, "Dude, he's really cool." It took 8 years to get to this.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't realize that with just creators in general, right? Like actors who finally make it big. It's like, well, they've been acting for 20 years.
Exactly. They're Hugh Boys.
Exactly. Yeah.
They've been working at it. They're Peter Capaldis. They're always those little guys that you see in the back over there, and I forgive kind of Hugh Laurie for doing Tomorrowland, but that's another story. Sorry. Long ago, it was supposed to be a bit of a joke. I wouldn't say a joke, but a weird hobby. I bought a Tardis, Amazon, $75 shipping, and I bought it online, and I got a metal one because I would drop the damn thing. And the premise back then was I took it places where the Doctor would never be, or the Doctor's never gone. So I would take it to stuff like I took it to my local grocery store. I would took it to Home Depot, and just took pictures of it. And that was the simple premise of how it all started. Then years later, I tried to go to my first convention, which was Time Lord Fest, and God rest his soul, Ken Spivey. And people heard what I was talking about with Doctor Who, and they liked what I was saying. And Ken actually put me on a panel for the very first time. And the first Time Lord Fest at the time was here in Orlando, Florida. So I participated, did my first panel, and that was it. And then I started going to conventions, started talking to
what year was this?
I don't even remember.
Oh, okay.
Good God. I mean, like 8 years is now just like one wibbly wobbly timey
one blob. Yeah.
One blob. I mean, seriously, you go like, well, what year was it? I'm just like, it was between 2000 and 2020. A needle somewhere resides in there, but it was in the past 8 years somewhere along the way. So I would start going to places like MegaCon, and I started going on panels, started talking. People started listening. People started saying, okay, I'm having a podcast. Would you like to be on? So I did things. I was on like several podcasts, like a Couch Potato podcast, and people wanted to hear what I said, which I thought was really weird. I'm like, why do you want to know what I say.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would hear me on panels and they would say, you know what, I never thought about that, which is to me the biggest compliment. They either say, I never thought about that until you said that, or I agree with what you say. And they shouldn't have to agree with what I say, but I was just like, it's nice that people are acknowledging and appreciating. So I was like, okay, we'll take it one step further. And a couple of people had said, oh, you got a nice radio voice. Oh. That's Michaela Jade. Anyway, so I started just doing podcasts, and the last one I did was with a very nice gentleman named Ian Shaw. And he did a show called Gallifrey Stands. And midway through his season, he brought me in after I left another podcast, and we were working together. He was in the UK, I was in the US. So we're giving our two different takes from different countries about episodes and reviews. The problem is we're 5 hours apart. So if you had to book something, I would be up until, either he would have to be up until midnight or I would have to wake up at like 6 a.m. I'm like, no, this is not going to work. Yeah. So after which, it wasn't a nasty breakup. We're still good friends. We just understood. And he basically said, I can't use you anymore. And I said, I totally understand. That was the first time I ever got, laid off from something. I'm just like, I get it.
Yeah.
So I was okay with it. And next thing I know, Garrett Pometry, who runs the Hanging with Web show. He brought me over and I was co-host for a while on his show. And we did a few videos. We've done panels and such. And just one day he turns to me, goes, it's time. What the hell are you talking about? And he just said, no, you need your own show. I'm like, I don't want to do my own show. Because I was on all these. I always like to be, this is how I described it. I always like to be the Bernie Taupin, if that makes sense, to the Elton John. I always like to be the guy in the panel, but I didn't want to lead the panels. Yeah. But I'll always, because it feels like it gives you more freedom. If you're not leading something, if you're actually involved with bringing in the content, but not having to drive the content, then you seem to have a little bit more control. And I had much more fun and freer time doing that.
Yeah.
And he said, it's time. And then next thing you know, the day before Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor, ascends her to her role, we premiered. And it was with a couple people at the time. And the topic was about Jodie Whittaker. What were our predictions and such?
Yeah.
So now we're 100 episodes later, with a Facebook page that I can't even begin to think about. Like, where do you people come from? Like, I'm not telling you to leave.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But
40,000 people, man. Over 40,000 people at this point.
Wild. Yeah, and still climbing.
Yeah.
I just like, and some people are going, I think you're doing better than Doctor Who.
That's funny.
I don't want this flag show to leave. What have I got a podcast for? But I didn't even want to do it in the first place. I was very nervous when I started. If you hear the first episode, it was only 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And Krypton Radio also produces the show. And Gene Turnbow, who was part of that, he was on the panel. Mm. He goes, I think you need an hour. So we moved it up to an hour long. And we've done, I think we're up to 100 and some odd episodes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it gets harder and harder because we wanted to do an episode every week.
Yeah.
But you get tired and then it's just like, I need a break or things like that. And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
I know that sounds oddly weird, but it gave us the boost that we weren't expecting. In fact, it pushed us into the corner market because all of a sudden everybody who was in Doctor Who or anybody working in Hollywood or anything of that nature, they couldn't do anything.
Yeah. It was like a weird pause that everybody.
Right, but they still have to get their name and their recognition out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, here's this little podcast. Yeah. So we had Sylvester McCoy, we had Paul McGann, we had Annette Badline, we had Terry Malloy, we had John Davey, we had Richard Ashton, we had Ross Mullins. I mean, we were just getting all these people.
Yeah.
That we wanted, and it was kind of a win-win situation. Yeah. At that point, it was like, we want to get your name out there and whatever project you're doing. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we want to get you on so that we're showing that we're for real.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a nice little mutual thing. And then here we are at this juncture. So, but it wasn't
That's
even
awesome.
supposed to happen. So now we're in our second year, 41,000 subscribers on the Facebook page. I think
Crazy.
12,500 on the Hanging With show because we're part of that family. And it's been an exciting ride, guys, from beginning to end. I can't even tell you.
Now I remember I was a part of the community by the time that you were reaching the 40,000. So it was just really fun to watch that happen. Over a few weeks' time. And what were your emotions when you were getting to that point? Like, were you just like, holy crap? Or like, what did you like? I don't know. Like, I feel like that's a really big accomplishment, man.
Yeah.
I think Brian Morris puts it best. You feel it's the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You just like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Really? You guys like the show? You like this Facebook page? Because when we first started out doing the audio podcasts, we were getting, I would think, between 250 to 500 hits in a week. In a week.
That's nuts. Gosh.
Now when we do a StreamYard, we're getting between 2,500 to 5,000 in a weekend. Or in 2 days, like in the second or third day of its fruition, we're pulling up this massive audience. I'm just like, okay, so when can I quit my job?
Really?
So now it's time. Next year, we're going to start going into marketing. We do have a lot of sponsors who take care of us on the show to make sure the show stays afloat. As you have you guys seen the show? I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
What was your favorite episode? What was the episode that do you remember?
Oh, I think this because I recently started watching it. I probably the ghosts episode is what stands out to me the most. Like, do you
believe in ghosts?
Yeah, I loved that episode. It was so cool, and you do a very good job, I think, at the beginning of the episode. That one specifically of setting the mood, setting the tone. For what's to come, like, and I think that episode, because I love Halloween, who doesn't, and that episode, actually, it was your show, and potentially that episode, it was right around there where I started, like, it got me watching Doctor Who.
That's right. You told me. I said my show got you into watching Doctor Who.
Yeah, it did. And I, like, I had seen a few episodes here and there with some friends who are fans, but just like watching your show, watching Brian Morris talk about it, and you guys dialogue about it, I was like, all right, I think I kind of want to check this out again. And yeah, it's.
I remember you posting. It's just like, I watched this episode. Oh my god, I'm so
yeah.
I feel
was like,
bad now
he's
because
a baby.
There's going to be that one episode that he's going to like, oh my god, he's going to watch that episode, and I'll be like, Christian, what'd you get me into? Because there's a few not so great episodes. I mean, if you've been running as long as you have, you're not going to Babe Ruth it and hit every one of them out of the park. And some of them were confessingly like what they call Doctor Who Light, which means either they didn't put a lot of money into it, and you can tell.
Yeah.
And they tried to hopefully ride the story. Because if you look at the classic series, it wasn't more or less, well, some of it was because during the back time, you're talking about the 70s and 80s where the tech wasn't like Star Wars. I mean, you had like Star Wars, and we're talking wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. We're talking about the sets that they had at the time.
Yeah.
So here comes George Lucas blowing us all away. 1974 or something.
Right.
76 or
76. And then compared to Doctor Who, which is running on a government budget.
Yeah.
And you see like woo, 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 the strings coming. Now they've remastered some of the episodes where they kind of made it like, here it is the high tech, or they got into more CGI and stuff like that. But when they're trying to write, because in the past it wasn't for me too much to caring about the sets or the strange monsters. It was always, what is the Doctor going to say next? Because he was always witty, and he always stood up, and he always had that one liner when he's taking on like Morbius, who's created from all these like stuff and monsters, and he's all meshed together. And Tom Baker says a line, the great Emperor Morbius, chop suey, the Galactic Emperor, things like that. Just because we watched it for Tom Baker.
Yeah,
I did, because I always wanted to see the weird big eyes and the scarf and the hat, and he I think emulated the alien part of it so well. I mean, if you see the classic, if you see the classic Who, it's not to say anything before him was a monster, but I mean, you couldn't. I mean, an alien, but you couldn't tell if he was going to be good or bad. There's actually a couple episodes where he looks like he might turn.
Yeah,
because of things. Yeah, there's one scene. You haven't seen classic, but it's
no
time. And essentially, he's sitting there. He's assembled the key to time, which is the entire series. And his companion at the time is Romana. He's looking at the key to time, and he's going like, "I can do anything I want." And he's looking at this thing. He goes, "I can be anywhere. I can do anything I want. I can command the universe." And he's just contemplating it. He's just looking at it. He goes, "I can do anything I want." And then he does this one thing where with his eyes, he goes, "I can do anything I want because I have the key to time." And Romana's flipping out going, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm okay, but what if I wasn't okay?"
Right, yeah.
Things like that, which are just in the humor. And to go even further back, if we were going to go into the childhood thing, Doctor Who was the character I could relate to the most because I wasn't that athletic. I was more brainy.
Yeah.
And here's a guy who could walk into the room with his wit and razor sharp wit and his brain and just take down the bad guy. And not only that, but he took down the bad guy and said some weird things while he was doing it. It was just like standing in the face and going like, "Come me," in his own Doctor Who way. And I could relate to that character. Unfortunately, nobody else could. Well, at least at that time. Then I found out that a lot of my friends in high school were Doctor Who fans, but they just never came out because it wasn't the thing to say.
No, yeah.
Because the Trekkie kids would come out and kick your ass. It wasn't the posh thing. It was bad enough. We had Transformers, we had G.I. Joe, we had Batman, we had DC, we had Marvel, everything else. But here's this kid watching PBS.
Yeah.
So cool.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
This is when they had full frontal nudity, guys. I loved it.
So would you say that is essentially what like, could you kind of just described, what captivates you about Doctor Who is that very thing, the intellect,
I the wit and the fun of it.
Yeah.
And and a lot of actors, and not only that, but that came to a shock to me the first time I saw the Regeneration. And PBS, my first Regeneration, because my PBS at the time did not buy the new series. So spoilers for anybody. And I got another thing about that if we have time. So Tom Baker does the series. He does it for 7 years. In the end, he regenerates. He saves the planet from the Master, but the Master makes him fall off a tower and fall to his death. And then he regenerates, becomes blonde. And because the PBS station didn't bother buying any additional episodes, that's what I thought Doctor Who was. So it started all over, and I watched the whole series again for him to fall and to his death to become a blonde guy at the very end. I was like, that's Doctor Who. It doesn't make sense to me, but
that's how it ends.
That's how it ends. And then all of a sudden there was a big pledge drive, and then he goes, "We have a special episode today. It's called The 5 Doctors." I'm like,
5?
What?
Wait. And Tom Baker was the 4th. I'm like,
yeah. Hold on.
What is this BSery?
Right, yeah.
Where did this come from? So when kids say, what their favorite doctor is the 3rd Doctor, Matt Smith, I don't get upset.
Yeah.
I go, okay, I get it, because I was there too. And then there was a special called The 5 Doctors. I watched that, and Tom Baker wasn't in it. But then I began to realize that there was this whole thing going on in the past of Doctor Who. So it was, and I caught up, and then I started watching Peter Davison, who took my doctor, and I hated him because he was blonde and he was wearing a cricket outfit, and I was like, "Can you change back?" I like the other guy, and I think a lot of people feel that way when their doctor leaves. You know, then now it's called the cycle of regeneration, where it's like, oh my god, I hate him, I can't stand him. All right, I'll watch the first episode. Oh, he's good. I kind of like him. No, don't leave. I hate him. You know, just kind of.
Yeah.
And now we've got a her, so that's something to.
And I haven't gotten to her episodes yet, but just from clips and things, she kind of reminds me of David Tennant's doctor, but just as a female. Have you heard, is that a thing?
That is the biggest criticism against her.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't mean it as a bad thing.
No,
It's
not, but it's just that you can tell going back in Doctor Who that there is like this, it's kind of like a trail. You can tell that there is this symbiosis that goes across all 13 doctors, but each one of them has their own different personalities. And it probably was going to happen because once you got to a higher number, then there's, it's going to be harder and harder to say that this doctor is going to be completely different. And then some of them emulate the other doctors.
Yeah.
Like some of them picked up stuff and traits and they moved on. Matt Smith picked up the second doctor's bow tie. Yeah. He added the fez. David Tennant, when you get to a number as high as that, I don't think it's going to be so easy to try to distance yourself from the others. So I hear that commonly. It's like she's the female David Tennant. I'm just like, oh.
But I think for me, that's actually appealing because I love David Tennant's doctor. So I'm like, oh, it's cool because we're gonna kind of get that type of doctor back. So it's,
if that makes you happy, that makes you happy.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Chris Eccleston.
Yeah, he doesn't like him. Eccleston might actually be my favorite, honestly.
Really?
That's fine.
He was my first doctor. I think that's why. But
I can never get that picture of him from Gone in 60 Seconds out of my head.
I got it. I got you.
He's just the bad guy. And it was bad guy trying to be funny. And I was like, I can't.
Listen, I'm trying to forgive him for the Thor sequel, okay? So I'm just like,
oh, that's right.
It's just like it's him, but
he's the main bad guy in Thor 2. He's the dark elf.
Thor dark.
Really? Oh, all right.
Yeah,
whatever. Dark.
Whatever it is. In my opinion, one of the worst Marvel movies, but I still enjoy it.
I meant when I used to criticize about new doctors, I said, you know what, I'm so embeddedly in love with Doctor Who, they could get Mr. Potato Head as long as it's a good actor and a good story. I'll watch Mr. Potato Head go across the screen. So be it. But I want to bring this up because this is where the core of what the podcast is about. There was one time at Florida SuperCon, and we were just talking about earlier Twitter, and just like it's a S show.
Yeah,
and I barely go on it, and it's just like, really, it's a disgusting S show. It's not even in control of itself. I used to joke. I said, listen, if Twitter actually held its own standards, there would be 6 people left on Twitter. They would not be celebrities. They would not be politicians. They would not be social media, and none of them would work for Twitter. So
right. Yeah.
That was my take on that. And one of the panels that I did, it was at Florida SuperCon a couple of years ago. And it was the premiere. We were talking about Jodie Whittaker at the time. And there were 2 ladies in the back who were kind of just distant. They wouldn't even interact. And I was going like, show of hands if you're excited about Jodie. Hands went up. Show your hands if you're a little bit, and show your hands if you don't feel right about Jodie. And no hands went up. Yeah. At the end of the panel, these 2 women walked up to me and they said, "We want to talk to you." I'm like, okay.
Uh-oh. Oh, you're in trouble now.
Well, if it was Sarah, then that would be a different story. But they told me that they felt uncomfortable about telling me what they really felt because they didn't want to be ripped by everybody in the room. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure when I got to the podcast, that all opinions matter.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to rip you down and it's been hard. I mean, I've got my share of, raptor claws on me because of things that I've said.
Yeah.
And I said, I have a broad spectrum of people who I work with who've been helping me out. Melanie, Jessica, Dave, Brian. I mean, there's a plethora, and that's how I wanted it. And some of these guys a couple of them, they said they're openly SJW. You know what that term means. But I don't look at them as that. I look at them as the individuals that they are. And you have something to bring to my show. And as long as you are going to be professional and talk about it, bring your angle in. Let's talk about it. Let's dissect it. The best way I can probably mention this, if anybody knows, I wanted to be the Dave Rubin of Doctor Who shows. I want to take an idea or an episode or a process and break it down. And when anybody, if Jeremy would have come in, if Brian would have come in, if Brian number 2 came in, or anybody, I don't want them to feel uncomfortable about sitting down and having a discussion.
Yeah.
One of the things I did a lot when I was at panels, that was my goal, was to bring people into my favorite show to watch Doctor Who. And if anybody had any concerns or anything, I would, talk it out.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. And I think we've lost it in the geek. I don't know where it went. Like 2016, the needle went, and it just became like, I didn't like this episode of Doctor Who.
Dude,
I'm just like, God,
just
really?
fandom across the board has become a toxic place. And I have a theory. I think it honestly has to do with, and I don't think this is 100% it, but I think it has a lot to do with how mainstream nerddom has become. And I think, of course, the more people you get in there, I think the potential for more toxicity to enter. And I really think that's honestly been a huge part of it. With social media kind of just deteriorating communication and redefining relationships, and I think it's an amalgamation of all those things.
Yeah. I think we've been giving megaphones to people who really don't deserve to have the megaphones. For a better term, or at least I remember at one time, and I don't know if this has gone away, but if somebody said something derogatory, what do? You leave or ignore it.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay.
You don't involve it, because one of the things that I've mentioned, and this was actually an episode of the Traveling Tardis way back when the bullying started happening, we made it an episode. We talked about it. And I said, when you start interacting with the bully, that's where their power comes from. Right. They're getting attention, and it's exacerbating. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
It's increasing, exacerbating the problem. So you only have one or two options when it comes to truly being, dealing with a bully. You walk away and ignore it, and hopefully they go away, or you go Ralphie on them. That's the only two ways. You're either going to shut them up and go full on, or you just walk away. And I said, the adult thing that I used to think was the adult thing, but it's not the Twitterverse anymore, is you just walk away. And I'm like, I'm dealing with it. But now people want to cancel you out. And I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
They just can't go, I don't want to watch a show or anything like that. No, they want to drive you into the ground. And I said, when did that become a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the thing in comics. I mean, we're dealing with the same,
it's everywhere,
same stuff. Yeah, and it's very much just like, what, if somebody's making a comic and they're saying things you don't like, just don't buy the comic. Like that. That's kind of my take on it. It's like, and hopefully if they're saying awful things, enough people will not buy the comic, and it won't be successful.
But the irony of the whole situation is that, let's just say, for instance, they go, "Hey, Christian, you need to leave. Doctor Who's not for you anymore." And I'm going, "Well, I'm done with Doctor Who. Bye bye." As I'm walking out the door, they're going, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I'm leaving. You told me to leave. Don't let the door hit me on the way out. You're not going to watch it anymore." No.
Yeah.
You wanted me gone. You told me I don't have a voice anymore. I don't belong here. And the other thing that the questions that we had, we started doing more like psychological, which I think is funny. But the question came up with one of the topics was, what makes a fan? What drives you what makes you a fan? So, Brian, if you like one book in Doctor Who, does that make you a fan? Jeremy, do you like one Doctor? Does that make you a fan? Brian, if you saw New Who but not Classic Who, or refused to watch Classic Who, does that make you a fan? And the question I think the way we answered is this: I make me a fan. I say that I am a fan. Because if there's long as there's something, if it's one book, one series, one Doctor, one episode, I'm a fanatic.
Yeah.
And you don't have a right to say that I'm a fan or not.
Yeah.
It is your job, if you want me to be part of the fandom, to bring me into this world, to listen to more audios, to read more comics, to watch more TV series, to watch the movies.
Yeah.
But you don't get to say if I'm a fan or not, just because of my limitations or because you don't feel that. Piss off. Is what I thought.
And in many ways, I mean, like, we've had plenty of guests on here saying, like, when, the first question, what kind of nerd are you? And we've heard a couple times, like, well, I would say I'm a comic book nerd, but there's a lot of people that know a lot more things about comics than I do. Yeah. And I'm like, that's okay. Because I've felt that too, right? Like, it's like I make comics, and there are people that walk up to me at Comic Cons. There are people that walk up to me at Comic Cons and they say, and they like a character that I drew or something like that reminds them of some obscure comic that they know everything about, and I've never heard of it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I'm not a fan of comics. You know what I mean? And so, but you're right. There's this some like unwritten weird rule that like you have to check all these boxes before you can even say you enjoy this thing.
And you have to like everything. I said, I don't like everything of Doctor Who. There are episodes that I'm like, I wish wasn't made. There's certain things I wish didn't happen. Even now, I think, spoilers? Do you want me to bring it up?
Go for it. Yeah, for it. Go. Yeah,
because it's the 13th Doctor. It's a series you haven't seen yet. That's what scares me. And I don't know if you've heard the controversy about the Timeless Children.
No, I've only heard the term. I don't know what it's about.
I'm just going to say this: as a classic Who fan and as a fan of the show, I never turn off Doctor Who. If it's playing somewhere in the middle of something or 3/4 of the way and it's in the room somewhere, I will sit down and watch it. I never turn off Doctor Who. During the series 12, I turned it off twice.
Wow.
And that was really hard.
Yeah.
I do chastise a lot of it because I think it's writers who have no idea what they're getting themselves into. They don't understand or appreciate the history, so they write series that seems to be disconnected to the previous.
Yeah. And
a lot of the Whoniverse has to fix it. And what I mean by that is, back in 1996, Paul McGann did his one TV role movie episode. He became the 8th Doctor, and then he, unfortunately, the series wasn't picked up, but he became part of the Big Finish, which kind of gave him the life that he needed, but we do wish he was on TV. Having said all that, one of the things that threw off Doctor Who was Doctor Who finally, for the first time in 20 some odd years, kissed his companion, which threw everybody into a tizzy. He finally had a romance with the companion, and that pissed everybody off because the Doctor doesn't kiss.
Right.
The Doctor doesn't kiss his companions. The Doctor is asexual, has no bearing as far as love interest. And when it came back with David Tennant and Rose, people were having the same issues all over again. But it's always the Whoniverse.
Chris Eccleston kissed Rose as well.
Yeah, to save her life. And I'm saying that it's, it kind of gets, but that was to save her life. But I mean, it was kind of a nice little thing, but now they were like boyfriend, girlfriend at some point. And it was
actually a romantic relationship.
It was getting to the romance part. And that's what Whovians didn't want. Now, when it came way back in 1996, plus they also mentioned that he was half human, which pissed everybody off. So that was part of it, of the 1996 film, that we had to deal with this kiss and we had to deal with this half human part. And novels had to kind of work around everything. And as far as Whovian fandom, we had to get our headcanon straightened out.
Yeah.
Because we have to, if we're going to accept this, then we're going to have to deal with it. Yeah. So the half human thing became a joke. to try to write it off, if I remember correctly. And then there's just, the continuity. They just kind of just blew it off.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm bringing all this up is because now we flash forward to the last episode beforehand, which was the Timeless Children, which arguably people think that rewrote the continuity, if not the canon of Doctor Who.
Oh, wow.
Which, yeah, it kind of did. There's no people in their head canon. Some people just go, oh, well, this is what happened. I said, no, I have tons of episodes I can throw at you right now that Timeless Children does not work.
Oh.
It's not little small kiss, or it's not this little one-off I'm half human.
Right.
I have episodes in my arsenal right now I could demonstrate that this cannot work. And the thing is that Chris Chibnall says that it could still be a total lie. So that's as far as I'm with you on that one.
Okay.
I want you to see that and judge for yourself.
Okay.
But because it bothered me enough that I had to turn it off, because I could not get my head around this.
Yeah.
I couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept that this was happening. And it took a lot of my friends. I literally was on the verge of going like, you know what? We're a new show now. We're going to do Big Finish. We're going to talk about Classic Who, because I don't know where this show's going. And we had an episode where we had to review the show, and I couldn't even review it. And I listened to my pals. I listened to Brian. I listened to Kevo. I listened to everybody who actually did like it. They understood my issue.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, look at it in a different light. And I said, you know what? I'll look at it a different light. I'll try it again. There might be something here, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't appreciate it. It doesn't work for me. And there was one of the writers came out and goes, well, canon's nothing. Canon is, canon is canon. It should be that, it's a limitation. Yeah, it's a limitation because of the characterization. Otherwise, it does not work.
Yeah. So I think, because I remember some of my friends who were like watching it in real time. Is this where they had to like essentially retcon the fact that in the past it was said that there was only the Doctor could only like regenerate like 12 times?
I will put this in a better sense, and this is how I explained it. After so many episodes of not rating it, I think I gave it like a 3. I know I gave it a very low number. And I said, if this was just an episode alone, I probably would have given it higher. And this is the best definition. I hate Brian because it's probably going to release everything. You just told Batman he's Superman the whole time.
Oh, wow.
You've just told and found out Batman was Superman the whole time. Now put your head around it.
Right.
So all these stories that I could actually argue that don't work because of the Timeless Children, I said the Doctor became the Doctor because he made choices. It wasn't because he was the chosen one. He was just a Time Lord and a human at that. And he had frailties. There were certain things. You got to give the character limitations.
Right. Yeah.
Or it doesn't work. Or if you're going to make them all of a sudden super powered, and
everything then has to be amplified.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was like, this cannot work because we do have a canon in place. We have a wonderful story. And even though we've kind of, it's been 50 years, there's always going to be some kind of flux. Ask Star Trek, where things mess up. I mean, Red Dwarf, when they do the extras, was it the guy who plays Crichton? He does the outtakes of all the stuff that the continuity is always screwed up, and at the end of the thing, it was like he goes through a top 10 list of all the screw ups, and he goes, "We made a mistake, okay?" And that was that's so you can't. It's hard for a series like that to kind of keep it straight, especially now with Big Finish in all this, and you have the story, the Virgin novels, and the comic books. It's very hard to keep that straight line going. I can understand that. But I think there is something to be said about a character who does have frailties. And if you tell Batman, all of a sudden he rips off the Batman shirt and he's got an S on his shirt, and now he's beating up the Joker and he's throwing it, it takes the novelty of what Batman was and kills it.
Yeah.
it's because he had those frailties. It's because he had to make decisions, tough decisions.
Mhm.
He's a vigilante. He's going up against the law.
Yeah.
And he even has to question whether he's doing right or wrong, which I thought was in some brilliant aspects of what Doctor Who was. Because he always assumes when he's walking into the room that he's the smartest thing there. But what if the moments, and there have been, where he made the wrong decisions or the decisions were incorrect? That's my Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that there is no limit, you killed the character for me. You killed what I grew up with as my Doctor. Now, maybe people who are here in the reboot and enjoying the new Doctor, it might work for them, but that wasn't my Doctor. My Doctor was what he or she was because of the choices they made, not because they were the chosen one. And I will stick to my guns with that.
So how do you keep watching then? Like if this thing happened and he became Superman, how do you reckon that in your head?
I don't, because
keep watching it.
I'm going to keep watching and see what happens. It's still my Doctor Who.
Okay.
Even though I don't like it, it's kind of like, for a better term, if your child, you want them to become a scientist and a rocket scientist or a doctor or somebody, a lawyer, and then when they wake up and say, Mom, I want to work at Circus World. It's like, that's not what I pictured you being, but okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things that a lot of these, and I think it's these, what is it? Who are these articles? The Mary Sue and all that. I think that's one of them. They forget that Chibnall had put this up, that it could be a lie all the time. He opened this door up. It still is. It could be wrong.
Yeah.
But if you ask the BBC, no, they're putting out pictures going, oh, look what happened here. And look what happened. Like, wait a minute, this could still be a lie. So what if the next showrunner comes in and says, yeah, it's a lie?
Huh.
You've done all these things for nothing.
Yeah. It's like the, you have this amazing show, these real consequential things happen to the characters, people die off, and then at the end, it was all a dream.
Yeah.
And we're actually back to where we were at the beginning of the season. And
thanks, Bob Newhart. Yeah. So it's and see, I don't want to spoil it for you, Brian. I still want people to.
Well, I still don't know really.
Right.
I'm not there yet, so I don't really understand.
But I don't want to be the influence that says, I just want to give you my take on things.
Yeah.
I want to give you my impression, and I want to do it in a way. And if you like it, which some of my fellow panelists did, I know Jessica does. She actually has the counterpoint. She says, no, this is actually making the story. Good on you. I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't. But once you start taking me on, like, okay, well, we're going to cancel. I'm just like, F you, get out of my face. I don't need you in my life.
It's like, I am, I don't know actually what the numbers are here, but like, I love the Zack Snyder DC films. I do. I dig them. They're a lot of fun. There's a lot of people that hate them, like just blindly hate them. And then there are some people that really don't like them for actual reasons, right? And like I was at first I was no, they're the best thing ever. And then over the years I've just been like, you know what? No, man. Like if you don't like it, that's cool. Like that's you, and that's fine. And I've heard reasons that I can understand, but I dig it. And I dig it because it speaks to me in a specific way, just as if it would speak to them in a negative way.
But I think that the true geekdom is this. Jeremy, we the three of us see something. Jeremy absolutely hates it. I'm kind of Brian, you absolutely adore it. It doesn't matter at that point. We said our piece, we walk away, we have a beer and a drink. And we are still great friends, and we still love this product that we endure. We're going to have different takes. Nobody is going to like the same thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to agree every single time.
You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just giving you my take.
Yeah.
But a lot of people want to hear it. So that's a surprise.
Over 40,000 people want to hear
something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, oh, really?
Well, that's really good to hear. Actually,
That's great.
People can have other opinions and not be not be chastised. So in preparation for this episode, like I said, I did a little backstory on you, but I felt like I need to. I just like stared at my screen.
I was young. I needed the money.
Yeah. But I hadn't seen any Doctor Who episodes.
Okay.
So, in the last 72 hours, I have watched the first 2.5 seasons, not the
new series.
The new series.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Brian about this, like whether or not I should say this on this episode, but I feel like you gave me license to. I really struggled with liking the first 2 seasons. I don't know what it was. I didn't like Rose for whatever reason. I've definitely figured that out. But I think like this, I just started the 3rd season. I like
Did you just watch The Runaway Bride, right? Or the Christmas special?
No, the episode where they go to the moon.
Oh, okay.
So is that like in
the rope.
Yeah. Smith and Martha.
Smith and Jones.
Yeah.
Smith and Jones is the episode.
My opinion on the show has completely flipped just in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming she's the companion.
Mm-hmm.
Like moving forward for David Tennant.
Yes.
I love her. I think she is incredible. I don't know what it was. The first 2 seasons, I just had so much trouble like finding something to like connect with me, if that makes sense.
No, that's totally fair. And you also and I'm just introducing you into the big picture as to why it might be confusing too, especially when they started off. It was the first episode, Rose, was kind of fan service because you got to remember the series had gone off. It was on for 26 years.
Yeah.
7 people played the title role. 14 years later, they're bringing it back 2005. Now they have to bring in not only appease the old audience, like myself, they have to bring in a younger audience. They've got to do this within 45 minutes. Good luck.
Yeah.
So they brought in a classic monster. They went a little weird with the trash can and the boyfriend bit, but what they were trying to do was bring in Eccleston to bring in, because right now he has gone through the Time War.
Mm-hmm.
He's war damage doctor. He's PTSD doctor. He's not going to be like his classic self because he just watched his people get blown up, which is explained in The End of the World when my planet is gone. And when we came into it, the classic was like, holy shite, what's going on here? That kind of enticed the older team to stay along because there was more fun. Brought in the younger crowd because Eccleston is a good actor. When Dalek hit, I think that was the most Paramount episode I've ever seen, and it's good writing because it's Rob Sherman.
Yeah,
and it was it showed that the series, it kind of has fun with it. Like the next episode was The Unquiet Dead with Charles Dickens, so it brought it back to the historical fun of it. And then you got Dalek, which brought back into what I think Russell T Davies was trying to inject into it, which was more of a drama, because he was trying to aim Doctor Who more like into the Buffy sphere, meaning that there was going to be more heart. If you look at the classic series, it was more cerebral fun.
Yeah.
There was not really, it kind of started going into character arc with the 7th Doctor and Ace, but it never got fulfilled. When they finally brought it back into the reboot, Russell T really knew what he was doing. He brought in the Time War, he brought in Rose, and he was bringing the arc back with Bad Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think maybe somebody from your perspective kind of got confused about it, because it's like, what the hell is this? You got to realize there was so much going on in that one first episode. It could have been it came across as a cluster. I had a great time. You didn't. Fine.
Yeah, I think maybe
but you came back.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, I was feeling like a bunch of different pivots, and you were saying they're trying to do service to these different audiences.
Yeah,
and I think when I'm seeing it, it's like, I don't know what is connecting one episode to the next other than these two characters.
I got a perfect example.
I mean?
I got a perfect example. Jeremy, it was you who didn't like Exorcist.
Yes. I know, man.
I was watching that episode.
Maybe it's just me. I even asked Brian.
Well, it was funny,
am I broken?
He did. He texted me today. He's like, "Am I broken?" I was like, "I think you're broken."
No. And you know what the funny part is, Brian? When I heard Jeremy's take on it, I sat back and go, that makes sense, actually, if you really think about it. It is disconnected, because you're going from the Middle East with this priest. All of a sudden, you're in this room with a little girl. Yeah. And then there's a story about this other priest, and there's really nothing cohesive about it. Yeah. And I know I think the book kind of...
The book connects it all,
The book connects it all. The movie just kind of you know, here's chapter 1, here's chapter 5, there's chapter 7, there's chapter...
Yes, that is exactly the case.
And I could see it, but it's still my favorite movie. I think that little subliminal picture of the demon still F's with me at middle of the night. I mean, it was the movie, the pea soup, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, just Linda Blair going, things when I was a kid, F me up day. But after hearing what you said, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Yeah, the book. Yeah, there's the part 2 and 3 showed up. I'm like,
yeah.
George C. Scott. Yeah, there he's back in the 3rd episode. There he goes. It always circles back. But I get it. And then it's the same thing. You know, I always want to dissect. One of the things when I do with the panels, when I talk about the starter kit, I find out what you like.
Yeah.
What are your favorite movies? What are your favorite TV shows? And from there, I formulate what Doctor Who episodes work together and say, here's your starter kit. Yeah. And then you can expound from there. But most people will go like, oh, where's a good place to start? And I said 2005 reboot, because that's where everything started, and then go from there. And then if you feel satisfied and you're lucky, and by some chance you don't have a life, go back. And start watching the other episodes. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're watching a 1963 episode with a government budget. It's going to look awful. But you can get your head around that and appreciate William Hartnell's acting and the interaction with his companions and the writing that was just phenomenal. You won't bother that the Wasp people look like something out of a preschool. We'll just go with it. Yeah, I get it.
But, I think what you said that to me on Nevermind the Furthermore. With Brian, you and Brian both said start, where I started, which was the 2005 reboot, and move forward. And then after I watched that series or get caught up on that series, then watch the 96 movie, then watch the classics. I think is what you
that would be. I think that would be a safe assumption. I would have probably gone back and said start with Tom. Or at least one of the mid Doctors, but the 96 movie is a nice intricate, because you're going backward. It would be like starting, hey, I'm starting with Star Trek Discovery, and then all of a sudden you watch the classic series and like,
a little different.
Star Trek Voyager, going back to the classic series and like, and
maybe do Discovery, then Wrath of Khan, or the new movies, and then Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
but it's. I meant to sum it up. If I guess as part of the discussion, I don't care what you like, as long as we can be together. And that's what I think we've lost in the conventions. We've become the football team fans, and I'll tell you what that means. When you go to a convention and you watch people geek out, you'll see the Whovian, the Trekkie, the guy who likes Stargate, the guy who likes Indiana Jones, the girl who likes dear. She-Ra. I'm throwing these things out here.
Yeah.
But they will interact
Mm-hmm.
and have a good time. They're taking selfies, they're playing games, they're dancing. That's what's so wonderful about the convention experience, and that's what is so wonderful about the geekdom experience.
Yeah.
I don't care what you like. Let's talk it over. Brian, you like what's your favorite show, Brian? Favorite geek show?
Of all time?
Of all time.
Oh crap. Supernatural, probably.
Supernatural.
Yeah.
I have yet to watch an episode. I am a Supernatural, but I would love to watch you come in and you say, "Hey, Christian, here's my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Here's what you like." And if I don't like it, you tried, Brian. You tried.
Yeah.
If I brought you into my world of the Whoniverse and you didn't like it, you tried. But we're not arguing. We're appreciating that we have difference. That's not just being a geek. That's being human.
Yeah.
And that you've lost. Because if you go to a football game, everybody's painted up. They're sitting on opposite sides of the bleachers, and God forbid they start crossing over, and they're flipping cars by the end of the, that's.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to stereotype. I'm just trying to.
But no, yeah. I think that's actually a really good analogy, because that is, sadly, in the last decade, we've started to get.
There's no segregation. There is integration, and it is for love. And we've just lost it as a human race. When did that happen?
I don't know.
Why is it happening?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I told Brian, like, I was going to keep watching the show to find something to connect with, and I think I did, and I planned to keep watching it. So yeah, I appreciate that perspective.
That's fine. And I don't know if going forward you're going to like it. You'll get to the new companion going, oh God.
Yeah.
So skip it. Or you might like her even more. Or you might like him even less. It was the same thing when I told people about Jodie Whittaker. And I had my misgivings because they were going to the female world. And I said, when somebody asked me, he said, what do you think about Jodie Whittaker? And I said, all I'm asking is this, that she brings in the role of the alien, not that she brings in the role of the female.
Yeah.
What she's going to bring is going to encompass all 12 actors who came before to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing this reboot, then it's not Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It's something else. Spin it off. And I think the writing has been her disadvantage.
Okay.
That's my assumption. I think that's across the board. I think if you speak to anybody who is pro and con, they're going to the writing's kind of really sucked. And like I said, I've turned off the TV twice. Orphan 55 and The Timeless Children. You'll understand why Orphan 55.
All right.
But I still have a love and a passion for it. I'm not going to give up on it.
Yeah.
I still think that in good hands, it will find something. Because remember, I don't know if you've seen interviews with Jodie Whittaker and Peter Capaldi, but they said that this is for everybody, not just for a select few. It's encompassing of everyone. So prove it.
Yeah.
Show me, demonstrate, justify.
Right.
Because right now I don't see that. When you've had an episode that pokes fun at a certain person who's in the Oval Office, and you have a character who's a spoof of it running against said character. And when I watch Doctor Who, it's supposed to take me out of this world.
Yeah.
It's my escape.
It's not SNL.
Right. If I wanted the Orange Man Bad hate, guess what, kids? I got CNN, I got Fox News, I got MSNBC, I got DIY, I got Animal Planet, I got HBO, I got Showtime. They all hate them. Weather Channel, everybody. I can find the hate. SNL, my God. I watch Doctor Who to get away from this, not to be backhanded, Bible smacked with it in my face.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to remind you why I watched this show and you did me wrong.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
We've talked about like your love for Doctor Who and your passion to see it through and help connect people to the show. What do you think has been your most significant interview for the show? Like, what has meant the most to you?
Oh God. I will say it in this light. Are you wanting me to pinpoint one particular person, or can I answer it in another light?
A person, a moment, whatever strikes you. That's
When I started doing this, it's like, oh, I would love to have so and so and so and so do come on my show and do this. After every episode that I've done, I've stayed in contact with these people. I haven't just gone like, oh, thanks for doing the show. Now, if you ever want to come back, I actually send them an email, send them a PM, and let them know, hey, I'm still here. If you need anything, let me know. I like becoming a friend to these people.
Yeah.
Because these people have been part of something that I think is the most wonderful thing in the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it brings me not only one step closer to that, but just knowing that they're part of it. It's my geekdom. It's like finding another Whovian out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Or somebody that geeks out when what was that t-shirt is just like the best feeling or the meme that's the best thing in the world when you find the other geek.
Yeah.
Right.
When I find another Whovian in the room, they're like, so yeah, they're the ultimate geeks because they've been in the show.
Right.
Yeah.
And I still talk to these people because I love them. And they're just wonderful people. Terry Malloy on that Badland, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann. He came back around his birthday. I just asked him, I said, you want to come back? He goes, okay. Well, yeah, and awesome. I said, and he came back and I said, would you mind doing our 100th show? And he goes, absolutely. So he was our 100th episode.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
that's just so cool.
I like keeping in touch with them because I feel like it makes me a bigger part of this Whoniverse family.
Yeah.
And I love their friendship. I love their love because it's wonderful. Nick Briggs, he's building a shed in his backyard. Just to keep up with these folks because I loved what they did for me.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping with this show I can show my love for them in return.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
And that's for the Whovians too.
Yeah. And we laugh about it because the name is ridiculous and it's intentional. But calling everyone that's on the show an honorary dingo is a similar spirit of that. It really is. We're not just bringing a bunch of people on the show just to interview them and get them get their name out there. It's a community. We want to build a community of nerds, of fellow creators, of people that we genuinely enjoy talking to and being around.
It's part of Brian K. Morris's Rising Tide.
Absolutely.
I understand that until I wouldn't say I didn't understand it, but he reminded me of what the Rising Tide was when I heard about that because I was helping a friend actually. Tim Treloar, who does the voice of the Third Doctor in the Big Finish audios, he did a YouTube show, and I started promoting it and said, and get you to at least 100 likes so you can get that. And Brian K. Morris, so I was like, I'm not going to stop promoting you until you get to 100. So now he's at almost to 400 now.
Yeah. It's great.
It's the love and the passion. I was just like, as much as I want to buy everybody's book and comic and, buy the biggest thing on their, I'm sorry guys, I got to keep the show going. Right. It's just like, I got to pick and choose. It's just like, who's your favorite?
But at the same time, when you are on, when you've been a guest on, never mind the furthermore, every time you're on, you always say, everybody put in your links and I'll follow you and subscribe. Yeah. And, that's the thing, like that goes a very long way. Yeah. It's like, you can't go out and buy everybody's stuff all the time because, we like living in a house. Yeah. We like eating food. Right. Exactly. And that is, like you said, that is Rising Tide.
Yeah.
So, and as much as I want to help, if I have the means, I'll do it. When somebody sends me a PM and say, Christian, like recently, our last episode was J.R. Hibbert. I don't know if you saw that one.
I haven't watched that one yet. No,
it was a tribute to our friend who had passed just this past week.
I watched I think I watched like the first half of that.
Okay, good. You didn't watch the ending where I lost it.
Oh man.
Well, no, I had something that I wanted to say to JR, and I kind of rehearsed it in my mind and said, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to lose it. I'm not going to lose it. And as soon as I put the camera on me and I just thought about it and what I was about to say, I just completely lost it. But JR has a fund running for his funeral expenses. I think his daughter and his family are trying to help him out with the funeral expenses. Yes, I'm going to share your link. Yes, I actually contributed because JR was a big deal to me. It's kind of like losing one of us.
Right.
I don't want to say anything that we're like, but we were expecting him this coming January. We were expecting to see him at Central Florida Comic-Con because he lives in that area.
Yeah.
And all we talked about was how we were going to be. Okay. How we were going to be there at our booth, and he's not going to come around the corner.
Yeah.
And we're going to expect it. We're going to. Or if we see a cosplayer cosplaying the Fourth Doctor, he's going to be right there. And that's going to be the hardest thing. And even Melanie was like, how are we going to be there without losing? We're just going to be wondering if he's going to come around that corner. He's not. We know he's not. But he made a big impact. He was always at our panels. He was always the first one in, the last one to leave. And I even told him, I was kicking him out of one of the panels. I said, dude, isn't there anything else you want to do? He goes, no, I want to watch you guys. He would show me the swag that he bought that day.
Yeah.
And he would, and I would listen. I would just watch him. He's like, yeah, I got the signature. He was just geeking out and so happy. And he gave us all big hugs, and he had this infectious smile. And when I got the word that he was at the hospital, I was like, okay, well, he's going to recover. And then a couple of days later, they told me that his family was going to take him off ventilator. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Man.
The next thing you know, he's gone. This man had impacted all the Whovians within all of Central Florida in some form or fashion. He did it because he wore a Fourth Doctor outfit, two of them, the newer version, the older version, and he always had jelly babies on hand. But he would tell me about the feature that he got that day, or the lapel that he got from City of Death. I mean, he was a total geek, and he loved us.
Yeah.
And I even said to Melanie, I said, well, not even justification for what this man has done for us, but we're going to give it to him.
Yeah.
And his family was so appreciative. And I just hope that we did him justice in that hour that we had him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're fine, man. You're fine.
Can't imagine.
I didn't want to be a buzzkill. Sorry.
No. Hey, man. Look, here's the thing. This show isn't just about, have fun. All that jazz. It's about this stuff too. I mean, he meant a lot to you and to you guys, and that means something. It's not something that, now that he's gone, you should just move on and, take moments wherever you go and, grieve well. It's one of those things. That's a part of it. That's how we honor who he was, and don't let those memories die. So no, this show is not just about, what we're doing is not just about, oh, cool, this is fun and great. No, it's about these hard times too. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, man. That's, yeah.
And again, being human, being a geek.
Yeah.
I hope we get back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, right before we do jump into our Dingoes flashcard round, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
If you could interview any creator or actor, from comics, movies, TV, whatever, who would it be and why?
It'd have to be Tom.
Yeah.
I have to. I meant he's up in age. I have no plans of going to London anytime soon. And I just want to let him know thank you.
Is he the first Doctor?
He was the fourth. He's the fourth Doctor, but he was my first. He was my doctor.
Okay.
I don't want to say was. He is my doctor. He's still out there.
Yeah.
But I just want to sit down with him and just say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me a childhood.
Mhm.
Thank you for giving me an adventure. Thank you for having me believe in something when I couldn't even believe in myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me a character that I could believe in so I could believe in myself. I mean, I just want to tell him a billion things. It wouldn't be in an interview. It would be me geeking out the whole time.
Yeah.
Just thanking him and just saying, can I give you a hug? Is that hair really that curly? I mean, just like you say my name 100 times because you got one of those voices that somebody could read the phone book and I'll listen to it over and over again. It's
right.
Yeah. It's like Chris Farley in SNL, that one character that he plays where he is like interviewing people and he's like, hey, you remember when you played the guitar on that stage? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
What was that the William Shatner thing? It's like, have you ever kissed a girl? Is that the one? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, I don't think that this that he would say you remember and he would say something that they did.
Oh, okay.
And then they were like, yeah,
I think I
that.
vaguely remember that.
And he's
Yeah.
like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so, like,
Yeah.
you remember when you did that thing? Yeah. That was awesome.
was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what you were saying. Like, you would just be like, hey, you remember when you were the doctor? Yeah. Awesome.
I don't even think I would even do, hey, do you remember when you were the doctor? And I would just say, you were my doctor.
Yeah.
You are my doctor. You were the guy that started all this. That started shower curtain. That started this.
Yeah.
Everything was because
all of this is your fault.
All of this is your fault.
Yeah.
That's cool.
For sure, man. All right. Well, great. Jeremy.
Yeah.
Got those. Are we ready?
Flash me, Jeremy.
It's time.
What are we
the
doing?
Dastardly Dingoes flashcard round.
That's
it's happening right now.
All right. Pick a number between 1 and 5.
3.
3. All right.
Because it's between 1 and 5. It's actually in the middle of the two.
So, what's the favorite thing that you've bought this year?
Oh my God. Do I have had to have purchased it or I'm planning to purchase?
Either one.
Okay. I'm finally going to become, if everything falls in play, an annual pass holder for Universal Studios, because I have never been an annual pass holder for Universal Studios. And they have a big discount going on because thanks to certain things are happening now.
Yeah.
They're giving a big discount. And I've always wanted to go there because I've always been over to Disney and then went to SeaWorld. We were annual pass holders for a long time, but I said, let's try Universal.
That's cool.
And I'm a big proponent about helping my friends who work in theme parks, because I don't know if you realize when the lockdown came on and everybody was furloughed, that was 77,000 cast members at Disney alone that were just That didn't include Universal, that didn't include SeaWorld, and that didn't include all the hotels, all the restaurants, the airport, the entertainment venues, the catering, all of those. So that easily jumped to like 350,000. I'm almost certain. So in our own way, some of our friends who are still trying to get their jobs back or trying to get jobs, I said, you know what, I want to, because a lot of my friends are in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, so let's take a theme park now and we'll go to Universal for once. So that will be it's a year-long pass, and we'll go in there and just create a bunch of new memories.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's awesome.
Harry Potter
wanted to go
World.
there because I've always wanted to go to Harry Potter World.
A lot of my friends say when they take the traveling Tardis, because it's actually been to both Harry Potter lands over at Universal and Islands of Adventure. And I was like, I'm going to take a picture of it. And a lot of my fellow friends who work over at Universal goes, you need to go to Harry Potter. And I'm, why? Because Harry Potter fans are also Doctor Who fans, and they will grab that TARDIS from me and beg you to take selfies. All that was before the Kofufu hit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, that's it.
Christian, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
much
guys.
for being here. What
It's
a
been a
great
lot of fun.
episode. This has been a great episode for sure.
Yep.
One final time, tell everyone where they can find you.
Absolutely.
work.
The best place to go is either facebook.com, The Traveling Tardis. You can also go on our website, thelegendthetravelingtardis.com. Those are the two best places. Go over on our Facebook, give us a like. I don't know why Meredith, she is like, we can updo the ante. And then Brian and Meredith are going like, yeah, we can get to 50,000 by Thanksgiving. Like, what?
Dude, they are. They're relentless.
They're relentless. I'm just like, no, we're moving. We're getting there.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll help you get there even faster.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. This was fun.
It was a blast. And thank you all for tuning into the Dastardly Dingoes podcast. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Also, hit that bell to get notified when we have a new episode. And as always, have fun, be safe, and listen to your doctor, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not wearing any
next
pants.
time. Bye, guys. See you later.
Film at 11.